Hi, I'm Jacqueline Rinksmeyer with the Greater Medina Chamber of Commerce.
And I'm Jared Fry, General Manager of Medina TV and Public Information Officer for the City of Medina.
We are pleased to partner with Medina TV with Jared Fry and Matt Homick to bring you this Candidates Forum. Candidates in contested races were invited to participate.
The views expressed by the candidates during these candidate forums are not those necessarily of Medina TV or the Greater Medina Chamber of Commerce.
The goal of the Candidates Forum is to educate and inform, but you need to take the next step. Vote early at the Board of Elections or in person on November 4th. Thank you for taking the time to be an educated voter. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the 2025 Candidates Forum.
Joining us now in studio is Doug Eastwood, the incumbent for Medina Township Trustee. And Doug, welcome. I'm glad to see you.
Good to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, why don't you just take a few minutes for the residents and the viewers that may not know you. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay. Well, I'm a lifelong resident of Medina, and most of that time has been in Medina Township. I had a chance I graduated from Medina High School in '81. I had a chance to serve on the school board from 2013 to 2019. Interesting time for our schools, but I felt it was an effective and it was a good team of people to accomplish things. In that time, it was trying to regain the trust of the residents, and I think we did a good job with that. Then I took a break, and a couple of years later, I had a chance and got called to see if I would put my hat in the ring for a trustee position in Medina Township. Trustee had resigned, so I did, and as a result of that, I got appointed. Then I ran for election, and I've served there now for 4 years, and that's coming to an end. And I feel like the environment's right to maybe get some more positive things to go on. So I'm looking to do it for another term.
Yeah, and I guess just to kind of expand on that, you kind of led me nicely into my next question, which was going to be exactly that. What made you decide to put your hat in the arena for one more term?
The first term was stressful. It started off with a police force that was begging for support. And I got to be a commissioner for a year. I got to know a lot of the staff. And in the process of that first couple years, we had a lot of internal problems. And that got, I believe, rectified when the voters voted in a new fiscal officer, Bridget Painter, a couple years ago. And she worked really hard to get the credibility back for the township, and she did a great job. Her goal was to retire and move to Cincinnati, and so she did make that choice to resign and only operate for a year. And she left, and we're thankful for the time she was there. And then we appointed a gentleman by the name of Ralph Simmons, who had a career in finance, and his integrity was high. And so we've been thankful to have him for the last year. And with the first part, I'll say fairly high drama. I feel like that we're stepping out of that, and we can accomplish moving forward, which is what we want to do.
And kind of dovetail off that, you talk about drama. It is only with the fiscal officer, there's 4, but there's 3 trustees. How do you handle times when it can be contentious, where maybe you don't get along or people have totally different views? How do you work to make that to come to a consensus?
Well, when I was on the school board, we had different views, and we had a lot of different diversity there. But I found that working together, you can accomplish a lot. And whether it was, ideologies that were different, but when you focus towards a goal, in the school board, it was obviously for the kids and for the community. In the township, it's for the community. I'm thankful to have there's 3 trustees, and we don't always agree, that's for sure. And we all have different points that we're strong at, and some points that we're less effective at. But even when we disagree, we're able to step back, move, and accept the decisions that are made, and we work together to move forward. We do not have a contentious relationship, and like I say, we don't agree on everything all the time, but we're able to work together. So I'm thankful for that.
And I know there's a definition of a role of a trustee, but what do you feel the role of a trustee is?
For me, I believe the role of a trustee is being a representative, first and foremost, for the community. And having lived in Medina and in Medina Township, being raised there for the most part, having a business in the township for my whole life, I believe that you have you can represent the township for what it was, and times change, generations change. Medina Township, Medina County is not what it was, 40 years ago. But it doesn't have to all change in a bad way. We have a planning book. We have things that we want Medina Township to remain, and yet I feel that's the biggest thing, is to represent the community and be fiscally responsible with the resources we have, and that's both in the tax income and revenue, but it's also with the staff. What are you using your staff for? Unfortunately for us, our staff is spending a lot of time on things like public records requests. So, but it is what it is, and that's what we have to do. So we will continue doing our best to fulfill that.
So how would you bridge, you talk about the communications with the constituents and the voters, how do you bridge that gap to keep them informed or up to date with what's going on in the township?
I do a lot of encouragement as far as one-on-one conversation. There's been, if you listen to some of our meetings, and we don't televise them per se, but we do have an audio recording for every township meeting, and you'll hear there's two people basically that are discontent with a lot, and you'll hear accusations, so forth. One would say, I don't encourage meetings, I don't encourage conversation at the meetings, and I wouldn't disagree with that. I don't ever hold back and tell people not to come or not to share their thoughts. But the meeting isn't going to be a productive place to resolve an issue. A place to resolve the issue is invite us out to the house, and people do. When they have a problem, it's usually something to do with sound, or it's safety, traffic related. The best way to understand the problem is to go out and meet with them, and that's what I try to do. So the people who want to engage, we engage, and I'm thankful for that.
Yeah. Now, one of the things the township, especially Medina Township, with the development of economic development, you have the businesses in two different quadrants of the township. One, your thoughts on economic development and what you'd like to see the township doing? We'll start there first.
Well, a few years ago, the city approached us, and they had something called a JED. And just for the record, we invited them to come and share that. Never intended to participate per se, but as a good neighbor, we do share services. We didn't want to just shut them out and say nothing. As it was, they came and they shared, and we said thanks, but no thanks. We want to encourage business where the zoning is appropriate, but we don't want to change zoning just to fit a business. That was seen when the Sheets people came, and they wanted that corner by Route 3 and 71. It just simply didn't fit. And it could have been as simple as that. It just doesn't fit. It's unfortunate sometimes if hearings get to be confrontational, even maybe to the point of disrespectful. But at the end of the day, we have a layout of what we want to see, and we can encourage that. And I believe that zoning is a living, breathing thing too. So I'm not opposed to looking at seeing if we have a new generation of people. I'm open to seeing what that might look like, but we want to follow the rules, and we want to build on what we have.
Speaking with Doug Eastwood, the incumbent for Medina Township Trustee, on the flip side of that, you have the residential population. What are your thoughts as far as the township goes in regards to residential living, and I'll even throw in there too affordable housing possibly for people?
Well, the residential aspect is, again, going back to we're not what we were 40 years ago. So instead of having drives distance apart, pretty much most of the properties have been divided and split up. And so one of the biggest concerns I have is things like speed and people driving, and what's the safety factor in general. I want people to feel safe. When people come home from work and they have kids in school, they don't want to worry about whether somebody's going to come flying off the road because we have a dangerous intersection and speeds are too fast, which we have several of those. Small communities like Weymouth have speed limits that are just, in my personal perspective, they're absurdly high. And trying to find a way where the state will allow us to be heard, which right now that's not the case, So, those are things that I'd like to see accomplished for the safety of the residents. The affordable housing is a interesting thing. Right now, housing's horrible. I mean, the prices have skyrocketed on properties, and I don't know what the answer is to that. I know that NOACA is a group that's trying to find a way to place affordable housing in places, and what that looks like, that's still a moving target. So that's needs to be addressed, but it's not an easy answer.
You discussed earlier some of the partnerships that go on within the township, and one of those is with the city and the fire safety services. Just kind of your thoughts on that, and what you'd like to see it maybe grow, or what you would like to see happen with that.
Well, the fire chief has said for some time that the city wants to go full-time, 24/7. We all know that the way that happens is adding staff, and adding staff potentially could add full-time staff. And Medina's general buildup is not that way. We have people who work full-time in other departments, and then they come to Medina and they work there, but we don't absorb the costs of the overhead for all of the benefits, if you will. So when that change comes, that's going to be a big impact, and I think that's something that people are nervous about. But they want service. We have places that are high risk. We lost a beautiful home on Hamilton Road because we couldn't get there fast enough. Granger Road has had several losses because they're too far away from sources of water, and they're not really wanting to run water out there. So we're working with the county on that. But if it doesn't meet their requirements, then we just can't do it.
So I guess in that, what do you feel, again, speaking with Doug Eastwood, the incumbent for Medina Township Trustee, if reelected for another term, what do you feel is your biggest challenge in that next term?
Well, securing, you've heard me say safety, securing safety and what that looks like for the residents. And that means everything from maintaining our road integrity. We have a phenomenal service department, and they keep an eye on that, and they keep an eye on the budget to try to keep rotating what gets repaired and replaced with the monies that we have available. I would like to see the fire department, I'd like to see that whole arrangement and the LST develop to be some more stable performance, and I don't have the answers there. I think that the service we get is good, and Chief Larry does a great job with what he has to work with, but we still have people who are, like I say, they're losing places. And are there other answers? Are there things like the dry hydrant program, where people could have dry hydrants? In fact, today I had a resident ask if there was any benefit. He'd make his pond available. He happens to live on Granger Road. So I went out and took a look, and those are things I'd like to explore. But I want the safety aspect is the biggest thing. And then the perception of transparency. I think that we are a very transparent community. I think that there are a couple people in the community that would like to taint that, and they're allowed to say what they want to say. But at the end of the day, if people need information or they're willing to ask for information, and we do our very best to get back to them.
Now, you kind of touched on this maybe in some of the challenges, but what is something that, as a project, you would like to accomplish in the next term?
One of the projects that I've wanted to see happen is to develop the Rita Holt Park. The Rita Holt Park is located pretty much across the street from the Hamlin Road Route 3 intersection. It is a 30-some acre chunk of ground that doesn't get utilized. The county has a one-day pass for residents if they want to fill out the form and go there. I think it's a terrible waste, and I would like to find a way to open that up for residents. And I've been working a little bit with Nate Epping over the past, and with the state of Ohio for driveway permits. There's things that are problematic about the property, but they're not things you can't overcome. And so I'm hopeful that can get opened up, where people can come and actually, spend a day, enjoy, maybe have a pavilion where families can come. We're developing the Blakesley Park. We recently put a path in there, asphalt path that goes around the perimeter. So people want to exercise, they want to walk or jog. They have a bigger loop other than just the parking lot. Mm-hmm. So I'm thankful for that. Those are the kind of things that when you look around, I don't feel we have as much as some places to offer our residents. And so developing the parks is one of the things I'd like to see happen.
Mm-hmm. Now, upon re-election, and you serve out this next term, how would you judge the success of that term? What kind of things would you place on that at the end of the day when the term was over, you'd like that you were successful with it?
Well, when I started, we had township meetings that often were in excess of 2 hours, sometimes close to 3 hours long, with a lot of stress and a lot of drama. Currently, Chuck Johnson's the chairman, and it's not uncommon for our meetings to be roughly an hour, sometimes maybe even shorter. And with the fiscal officer working with the different department heads, that is not a challenge anymore. We previously had, it was not uncommon to people not to get payroll, and we only get paid every 2 weeks. So if you miss payroll, it's a big deal for our staff. That's not a problem. Hasn't been now since Bridget came on and now with Ralph. So it'll be a big success if that continues. And Ralph has to run, and he's unopposed this election. But then that's only for 2 years. And so we'll need to see how that continues. But I want the staff to feel comfortable and confident. And I don't want to be the pun of the local county jokes when it comes into what kind of a show are you running. Mm-hmm. And I'm thankful that it's gone in a tremendously positive way so far. I'd like to be able to hand that off at the end of this term, should that be the case.
Okay. Again, Doug Eastwood, the incumbent Medina Township Trustee. And Doug, you've been great and answered all the questions I've had for you here today, but I want to give you the opportunity that if there's something I missed or something you'd like to touch on, that you can talk directly to the voters. So I will turn the floor over to you.
Thank you. Well, I appreciate having an opportunity to have served the last 4 years. Has not been without its undue stress. And so from that perspective, anybody who chooses to serve, I would say I tip my hat to them in that regard. I would like to have an opportunity to take the next term to develop some positive things, like I've mentioned about the parks, about safety within our township. We have got the tools in place now to build a police force and add to staff, which thankfully the township voted for that. And now it's our job to make sure we deliver that. So I'm looking forward to a safer and hopefully a more enjoyable community with the parks and the things that we've talked about.
Great. Again, that's Doug Eastwood, the incumbent for Medina Township Trustee. And Doug, thank you for putting your hat in the political arena again, and I wish you the best of luck this November.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Clear.